What's going down, Savages? Welcome to episode 8 of Le Savage Show. I'm your host, Stefan Paulin. And for episode 8, I had the pleasure of talking with fellow professional wrestler Justin Parsons-Coady, aka Justin Newhook, one half of the tag team Sabotage from the Maritimes. I've known Justin for a couple of years now. We've wrestled each other. We struck out this great friendship. We have, a huge amount of respect for each other. And I've had him on the podcast before when it was called This Savage Life. Just at the beginning of the pandemic, he was one of my guests. We had a great conversation back then. And during this pandemic, he started this new project, this new thing called Distinct Breeds, which is a series of interview available on YouTube. So check it out under Distinct Breeds. It's also, he has an Instagram page, Distinct Breeds. Check it out. He has one interview out right now. It's great. I listened to it. It's under an hour. Great interviewer. He takes care of the video aspect of it in the first episode. There's a different interviewer. But from what I understand in the upcoming episodes, he'll be conducting the interviews as well as dealing with all the video part of it. When I found out about it, I found out through, him sharing it on social media, and I was like immediately interested in talking to him about it because it's something similar to podcasting like I do. And I wanted to know how the idea came to him and how long he's been working on this. So anyway, we had a great conversation. I know you're going to enjoy it. So I'm not going to make you wait any longer. So episode 8 of Le Savage Show with Justin Parsons-Coady. What's going on, man?
You fucking see it right here.
Justin Parsons-Coady, welcome to the Savage Show, man.
Hey, man, it's good to be back. I guess this is a different platform now, a different show.
Yeah, man. Last time we spoke, you was at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was on This Savage Life, just a different show I had. I changed it a little bit because I am having some French guests once in a while, so I wanted the name to be a little bit bilingual, a little fancy. And I had this like format in my head that I was trying to accomplish, and I wanted it to be a little bit more like interview based and be more about the guests and stuff. And I'm kind of like, that's how it started, and that's what I was trying to do. But now I'm like kind of like just mixing it up with like the old style that I was doing before, just having a conversation. And then once in a while, when there's something to talk about, like in your case, I'm like, yeah, man, let's go ahead and talk about that shit. But if the fucking conversation spills into something about, who the fuck knows, I'm not gonna, stress out about it and try to bring it back to, try to route it back. It has to flow, I found that if you're just trying to make it as so like interview based, like question, and just try to keep it to one subject, after a while, I'm like, man, it's not like, I run out of ideas. I'm not like, I just want it to be like free flowing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So let's start here so we can get started, man. Last time I had you on, we basically spoke about wrestling because it was fresh off our minds. We're dealing with this new pandemic. Now, what, like 6, 7, 8 months later, you're back and with this thing called Distinct Breeds, man. You tell me where this thing came from, how it was birthed. Like, tell me all about it, man, because I'm super psyched about it. I want to know everything.
So this all stemmed from 15, 16 years ago. I was at my mom used to own a bar, and I think we're like 19, 20 years old. Me and one of my best friends, Adam, he was just fresh off of maybe a year being back from being in a metal band in Ontario. And he opened up for a bunch of awesome bands, Testament being one of them. It's an old school metal band. And I asked him about the story about what was it like? What was it like being on the same stage as a band that you idolized growing up, being a small town boy from Newfoundland? And he told me this story. We're outside of my mom's bar down the street. And I was sitting down on the street up against like the metal railing, and looking up at him, and there was one light behind him, and there was like a backlight behind me that was lighting him up properly. And he just went on this like 45-minute story of what it was like to be a rock star. And I was just, my entire time while he was telling the story, I was like, I don't have a camera. Like, I don't have a camera to be able to like record this. So one day I could show it back to him. And for 15 years, I wanted to do interviews. I just want to interview friends. Did it have to be about a certain topic? Absolutely not. But if it was something that they were passionate about, then 100%. Like that's, if they wanted to get something out, I wanted to be there for them to be able to get that voice out. And for one reason or another, either fear of being judged or fear of failure or whatever it was, I just I didn't feel like I had the ability to do it. And I always had a vision in my mind. And then now this pandemic, I guess, has made me bored enough that so fuck, I got to do something.
It's I'm the same way. When I started podcasting, it was, and even years down the road when I was podcasting, like I would launch new shows or try new ideas, and it was always the same thing. Like I would always procrastinate for super long because a part of my mind was like, what am I doing? Like there was a fear of obviously like this whatever content that I'm putting out gets rejected by people or just doesn't get, not really rejected, but like not accepted, or it doesn't catch on, right? And I'm like, there needs to be a purpose. Like I need the reason you're doing this, from what you just told me, is like you had this experience where you're like, man, I wish I could record this so that we could watch this in 10 years and I could show it back to this person, and how this conversation either changed your perspective on something or change your life, and it was my same thing with podcasting. Like I love talking. I love having conversations. I love about anything. It doesn't have to be anything specific, but when I'm connect with someone and we have these deep conversation, I was like, man, I wish we could just record this so that we could listen to it back and go, man, you remember when, I used to think like this, or that was my perspective, and it's either changed so much now or it's kind of the same, or that we saw things differently. And it's cool though. The thing I like about this, what you're doing, is that you basically turn a negative in the pandemic into going like, you know what, fuck, I've had this idea. I have this time. We want to call it bored or anything. Let's fucking see where this takes me. And boom, you fucking put the work in, and then you get something out of it,
Yeah. So like when it like first was like, okay, I'm gonna finally do this. I wanted to interview, my first interview I wanted to be Troy, and I just did that a couple days ago. And I'm gonna start finalizing the editing and stuff there now, because I'm learning color balancing and lighting techniques and all this stuff. So I'm trying to like perfect, and obviously I'm not going to perfect it my second video putting it out or anything like that, but my mind just wants to work on it so much. So Troy was my first person that I wanted to do, but then I got an opportunity to interview a gym owner here, because the guy who's going to do a podcast with, his soundboard like bit the dust like the day they were going to do it. So I jumped on the bit. I've always wanted to record, like I can like video this for you guys and we can put it out together. So we go and do it, and you can see me in the video. I'm running back and forth, making sure like all the video is good. What I forgot to do is add a bit of inch clip to one of the microphones. So I lost the audio on one of the guys. So right out the gate, I was like, I'm failed, fuck it. And I went to like flip my computer, and I was like, I'm done. That's it. Like there's no, like I failed on my first attempt. I'm not going to do it anymore. And my brother, God love him, he was sitting at his computer, and he's seen me freak out more than a handful of times. And he was just sitting there like, he's actually taking this quite well, because I was trying to be calm. Like, no, I need to be calm. Luckily, the guy doing the interview recorded an audio track on a cell phone. So audio wasn't the best, but I tweaked it as much as I could and put it out. And luckily it got like good reviews, I guess, or not negative reviews. So that was the best part about it.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, the concept, I like the name, the concept of like, you get it right away, right? You look like, when I got a follow on Instagram from Distinct Breeds, I went, oh, what is this? Then I connected the dots, and then I was like, oh shit. And then I saw your video, and I was like, I listened to the video, and within 30 seconds, I automatically made the connection of the name and what you're reaching for. So right there, me watching this, I'm like, I'm hooked, because you're making this about people that I can connect with.
Yeah.
I get what you mean by Distinct Breed, and I get the people that you're putting on camera and telling their story. From there, I was like, I'm hooked. This is amazing.
Sweet, man.
Because want it or not, you probably have the same thing. Like, we've all visualized ourselves 10 years down the road being this professional badass wrestler and being in that position where you're being interviewed for the same exact thing, either a documentary or a fucking video of yourself, but you're the subject, right? So when I see shit like that and I'm like, you know what, maybe I won't get to be the guy that's sitting on the chair, but hey, how about I'm the guy that's putting all that shit together, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I went with the podcast. Like, let me try to create and grow a platform where we could just sit down and tell our fucking stories and people connect, and you're doing the same thing. So from what I gathered, like, you, the first one, I don't know how it's going to work. So that's why I'm going to ask a lot of questions. Like, you did all the video for the first, but you have a guy doing the interview.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. So he has his own interview. It's called The Beautiful Grind. His name's Mike Foster. Great guy. We connected. I went to see a strongman competition at another gym here in Halifax, and he was doing the emceeing. So I had to pass by him to use the washroom or whatever it was. I had to pass by him, introduce myself, talk for a quick second. That was it. And then through social media and everything like that, we got to talking, and I presented this idea, the Distinct Breeds idea. I was like, this is something I've wanted to do, but I don't know if I should do it. And of course, he pushed me to do it. So he wanted to do the interview for Dave because Dave just opened up a gym here. It was supposed to be just before a pandemic happened. But of course, that guy got messed up and everything. So they pushed it back and everything. And then he was going through a bunch of stuff. So he wanted to do the interview. And I just said, well, I've never interviewed before, so I'm just going to stand back and listen to how he's presenting it and stuff. And I kind of did, but like I said, I was running around, listening to watching the video and make sure the battery is okay and everything's fine there. And then I had to watch the video back to clip everything properly together. So then I got to hear how he presented certain things, but I also got to hear Dave's answers about a lot of things as well that I didn't while I was recording. So it was just like, I can talk all fucking day. We can do that all day. We have done that all day.
Yeah.
When I've been up in Montreal, we've just talked, and it's fine. And it's amazing. But now I got to word things in a way that most people are going to be able to connect with. And now I have to cut down my newfie a little bit and try to talk in a normal English tone. And I can't do that. I can't. Like my second interview, me and Troy are drinking during the interview. So of course, I'm just like, yeah. And I just talk the way I talk. So
that accentuates your newfie in you.
Yeah. So it brings it out. We're getting excited, telling stories, and it's like, okay, well, is this how my interviews are going to be then? Like, is it going to be me, and hopefully other people can dissect my language or whatever it is, like cipher it out. So we'll see how the second video goes.
You know what? I was all about, at the beginning I did this, to add to your point you just said, I was all about trying to put it in a way that the majority of the people would want to hear it. And I noticed that if you do that and you're not 100% genuine because you're trying to cater to that, majority of people, it's not impossible. And I'm not saying the product is not as good, but it's a lot more work, and it's like the tedious work because you then become extremely judgmental on your stuff. So when you're listening to it, and if you put yourself in that perspective, then you're like, oh man, I did too many too many this, too many that. So after a while, especially with my idea of adding French shows, like when I speak French, like if I let myself go, like if I smoke up and I start speaking like French from where I'm from, dude, half the people won't understand what the fuck I'm saying. But that's what I want. That's what. Yeah, it might be hard to understand you, but man, you look like you're having fun talking, and you're just way more comfortable. The words come, the flow of the conversation is a lot. Like being able to just talk, me and you, and just no cameras, no mics, no nothing. the minute you hit record on something, there's something that switches for some reason. Then you're a bit more stiff at the beginning, and then it takes sometimes 5-10 minutes before you can get into the flow of the conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that on the second one, you're the one doing the interview. Did you do any preparation before, like questions? Like, how long is the process for you?
So that's what I'm trying to learn now is how to come about like an interview. If you like, I feel like if you go anywhere past an hour and a half, like hour for what I have envisioned in my mind, but if you go past hour and a half, you're not going to have a lot of people's attention anyways, and then you're going to lose the person that you're talking to as well. So my goal was to always be around an hour. Like that's enough that you can break that 10 minutes of awkwardness, get into the comfortable state, and then close it off. So like I found that worked out, and I think we got like 50 minutes with me and Troy. So that worked out good.
That's perfect. 50 minutes to an hour, man, is right there for most people's attention span. I find that if I aim for an hour, most of my recording end up being like an hour and 30 minutes, right? Yeah. But I know that it probably was 15 minutes too long, because the last 50, I find it hard sometimes to stop when I realize that the conversation is petering out, where like we've said everything we're going to say today. And like, now we're just adding, garbage. Basically like, it's hard for me because sometimes I either smoke up before and sometimes I start talking and I talk for so long that by the end of what I'm saying, I'm like, I don't even know where the fuck I'm coming from this, So I try to like keep it short, but 50 minutes, I find like, because if I'm watching something and I see that it's under an hour, I'm like, all right, I can. But if I see it's an hour, 20 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch 40 minutes here and I'll watch 40 minutes later. And I find it changes the experience, Yeah. So do you kind of like prep, like kind of like question, bing, 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 or is it just like you add points and you're like, I'm just going to flow on these points and try to touch on all these points?
So this one, I had like a set flow of what I wanted to do. I wanted to start off like outside, because with Troy, he's one of my mentors here for wrestling, but I didn't want to focus all on wrestling, because we've all done that. You know what I mean? Like he's been interviewed so many times for wrestling that I even messaged him and said, what questions do you get all the time? So I obviously don't ask them. And I know not to ask, what was your favorite match? Who's your favorite person? Like, I know like that's been asked, you know what I mean? If he wants to bring it up, he'll bring it up. So we started off kind of like his life before wrestling, got into wrestling for a minute, and then touched on a couple other things. And then I closed it out. So what I plan on doing with whoever I interview, I'll message a couple of their close friends and say, hey, do you have like a funny thing I could ask them that will make them laugh and tell a funny story?
Nice.
So like, I grew up watching Nardwuar. I don't know if you know who Nardwuar is.
Yeah. The guy with the glasses and the beret there. Like.
Yeah. The crazy interviews, but he always like manages to make people freak out. Like, how do you know this? Now, I'm not trying to get to that level of like trying to shock them, but just that's how I want to end out the interview, is like them laughing and just having a good time.
Yeah.
So then like, once I finish off the like last couple questions, it's like, okay, I asked the last question that I'll ask everybody on all my interviews. And then that's it. So like I have kind of like an ending to but as for like direct flow, I guess every like project will be different. If there's like a specific thing that I'm coming in for, then yeah, we're going to be directed at that. But most people that I want to interview is like, I want to line up. I have some people want to line up like a few drag queens, a few comedians, stuff like that. Like all kind of like entertainment based.
Yeah.
Not just wrestling, because there's a much broader spectrum out there that like I get messages from some comedians being like, I've grown up watching wrestling my entire life. Like I love coming to the shows. It's fun to sit down and you guys entertain us. And it's like, yeah, like we're all supporting one another here. So why can't we get our stories out?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where I want to go with it.
That's perfect, man. That's also, I think it's very similar to the type of thing that I'm trying to do with the podcast. It's like, obviously there's a lot of my episodes at the beginning, like right now, where it's all people I met through through the business of professional wrestling. Like you, I had Drew, I had Mike, I had Dawson, I had all. Gabriel, all
Dawson.
wrestlers. Yeah. You know, and I love talking to that guy, man. I could talk to that guy. Like I told him once, I'm like, man, I don't want to be that guy, but man, you are one of the best guys I've ever seen on the mic, man. Dude, the way he can flow, the shit he can put in 60 seconds. Holy shit, man. He puts it a lot. There's no breath. There's no
breath.
It's like, bing, bing, bing. But they all fucking hit though.
Perfect.
Every time he speaks, it's like, ooh, like
anytime he's messed with us, like anytime that he's shot promos on me and Connors, it's just been Connors will message me and we're laughing. We're crying laughing because it's like, how did he think up of this? And how can he get it out with, like you said, most times it's under 60 seconds because Drew likes to put the posters and everything up. So it's like you got under 60 seconds to get our point across. Me and Connors are trying to be like these tough guys, like leaning into the camera, dark lighting, like, oh, fuck you. And he just comes riddling at you with so much information. And then it's like the last one that he just posted. I always made a joke that Connors is like this much taller than me, like not even like a quarter of an inch, but he'll always use it against me. He's like, I'm the taller one. And it's always just like a little tiny inside joke. I said that around them once, like we're all joking around, and they used it in the fucking promo.
Oh my God.
That Connors, he's like, I'm New Hook, I'm the loud one, blah, blah, blah. And then Patrick comes in and he's like, and I'm Connors, the tall one. And I went, you motherfucker. You sons of bitches, like, and you can't be mad. Like, obviously, I'd never be mad at that because that's hilarious. But they hear something and they remember it. And Dawson is just an amazing, amazing person, anyways. But on the mic or just in front of a camera, I listen to him. I'd listen to him all day.
It's insane.
How he doesn't have his own TV show, I don't know.
I told him, I said, when I was doing the podcast and I had him on that dirty, I'm like, dude, why are you doing podcasting? He's like, oh, I have some ideas. I'm like, fucking do it,
just
man.
Do
I'm
it.
like, and he's like, I listened to his podcast. They're 8 minutes. And I'm like, dude, I could take 15, 20 minutes of you. Like, you need to put more content. I'm like,
I've got to listen to those. I didn't, for some reason, I forgot all about the fact that he was putting out those podcasts.
Yeah. They're fucking hilarious. Like I don't know how much prep time he puts into knowing him. Like it's a lot, cause I know he likes to be like on point with that shit.
Yeah.
And it's gold, man. I love it. I fucking love it. I have all these techie questions. Maybe it's weird to ask, but what kind of camera you use for your thing? Like, do you have one camera or?
Where are you at?
Hello.
I honestly, like, didn't know enough about anything. I just kind of went with, I watched some reviews on certain things and I got the Canon EOS M50. Just it's a mirrorless camera. Once again, learning what that means.
Yeah.
It was, it was like $400. So I didn't want to go some crazy, like, my first time. So that one is for my main. And then I use this Samsung shitty A5 cell phone for my side camera that I just like. I use black and white and I just like, I'm not worried about detail on it. It's just, if I'm asking a question where you kind of need to see what I'm doing or just to break up the monotony of just staring at one person, I'll just fade to that one and then come back to when they're talking type thing. So that there, I have that. My friend Nick gave me a ring light like long ago when we started shooting our promos.
Yeah.
So I have that in a stand for like my main light. I'm trying to learn all that now. I've been looking up and watching like so many reviews and like pointers and like tips on how to use lighting properly and how to make it more, not dramatic, but like give more effect so that like the person stands out, but then your background also stands out. And it's not just like we've watched so many interviews. I'm like, well, I'm boring as hell. I got nothing behind me right now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you've got like a nice backdrop. You have personal pictures there, pictures of people who influence you, awards. Like that's great. And like, that's things that like when I interview now, luckily the first two I've been at, one was at a gym and one was at a buddy's place that had a gym. So I had a good backdrop of things that I could light and stuff like that. So that's where I'm trying to do now. I bought shitty little lapel mics off Amazon so that I can at least have better sound quality, is because like trying to do an interview. So I have one audio file goes to one camera and one audio file goes to another, so that if we're talking over one another, I can drop my mic or my audio level,
Yeah.
and he can still be at a good, because like the last thing I want to do is either cough or like just talk in the middle of him, like be like, oh yeah, I remember that. And then it cuts out something that he's trying to say. So trying to sync up that stuff, I'm using a program called Filmora. So like, it's not like an amazing editing software, but it's really cool. And I'm learning like those things. So yeah, it's just been like a whirlwind of just trying to teach myself all this stuff. And
I ever since I started doing this podcast thing, I did it everything like you're doing. Like I taught myself everything, YouTube videos. I read a thing. Like it's the same thing with every graphic that I put out, like for my podcast or for anything. Like I do it all through Photoshop. I have a Photoshop program on my computer, and it's all self-taught. Like no one ever showed me. I started using it, and I just got better. And when I needed something specific, I watched a video on something, and just so on and so forth. So as far as editing for you, like you filmed the stuff, and then you edit it completely yourself after?
Yeah. So when I got this program called Filmora, because my buddy Nick, the one that he used to come film our promos for us, or I'd record them and like Google transfer over to him and get him to add in the glitching and the other stuff and like all this shit. And then we're up in Ontario and we were getting ready to do like a charity show down in the States. So I recorded the video and I needed to send it back to Nick, like upload it to Google Drive because it's like a high quality video, because I didn't want like just like a little, like send it over Facebook and lose a bunch of quality. So like I had like my little shitty, like I got it here, like my little cell phone hand rig that I had, a light stuck up on top, a shotgun mic there, my cell phone stuck in there, so it's like not all shaky. So it did all that. I had to send it off to him, and it took way too long to get back. And not because like it's not on his fault. Like, he lives a life too, and I'm not asking him to jump when I need a video done. So I was just like, so I messaged him when I got home. I was like, okay, what program do you use? Like, I need to learn how to do these myself, so I'm not bothering you all the time. Because like I'd give him so much money a month to do this stuff for me. But then it got to a point where it's like, okay, either I have to pay him money to be able to jump what I need him to jump, or learn it myself. So it's might as well learn it myself. So I have a computer already. So he shows me the program, and I'm literally just using this program just to do our promos. So like, I'm like, I have this video program, editing program that I need to be able to utilize more. So like I learned how to do that intro where like you zoom in through like the letters at the beginning of distinct breeds. Now I'm still trying to like perfect it, because like at one point you could see it and it jumps to the left a little tiny bit, but it's just like I just needed to learn. I always wanted to learn editing. Like back when I was in high school, I wanted to do like video production and editing, and like I wanted to be a director. I wanted to do all this stuff with film, and the fear of like student loans just made me not do it. And like then like I went to Fort McMurray, came home, and joined the military. It was just like, for some fucking reason, I just let all that dream just like wash away. And like now we're in a day and age where I can just teach this myself. Of course, there's people teaching me on YouTube, but I'm learning it myself. I'm not going to school for it or anything like that. So it's like what I'm doing is very basic, but I want to get into more things of just better lighting and better audio, and just make it so like when you watch one of my interviews, it looks like a production company did it. Like that's where I want to get with my editing. So like now I'm just trying to learn all that. I learned to, when you do interviews, don't film in 60 frames per second, film in 24. It gives you a more cinematic look. I didn't know that. I'm learning that like most films that you watch are done in 24 frames a second, unless it's an action shot and they need to slow it down. I didn't know that. Like shit like that blows my mind. Like all the things I'm learning just from sitting down and watching YouTube Awesome.
I also like once I start, it's like I can't stop. Like if I start editing or like I love it. I just love learning the new shit. And like me, like you, like right now, yeah, it's so basic what I do. Right? It's like I record, for example, for the podcast, I record it through Zoom and I drop it in iMovie and then I just add all the other stuff. It literally takes me less than 30 minutes, you know, and I record an intro with a different program, and then I just add all this to iMovie. I clip it all together. I was able to watch a few videos on how to add certain things and how to like create certain things through iMovies and Adobe as well. Like I use a lot of Photoshop to add a lot of my graphics to my video. And before I did all this, I didn't connect the both. I thought that Photoshop was for graphic only, and then iMovies and all that stuff was just for iMovie. I didn't understand that I could use certain things that I did on Adobe Photoshop and use it as graphic in my video. And when I figured
Right.
that out, especially during the pandemic, like where you're forced to do these interviews or these conversations through what we're doing right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want it just to be like two guys talk, because I enjoy the video aspect of it, even though it's a podcast and most people think, oh, it's just the audio. Like I put a lot of focus on the video aspect. I want people to go watch, because that's why I want it to be a feel of a certain you're watching something. You're watching two people having conversations in a weird, fucked up way through video cameras and technology, but fuck, that's the day and age, you know, like
Yeah.
that's where we're living now. This
Yeah.
is the world. This is the life. And I'm like, I'm done trying to be like that guy that goes like, no, I'm just gonna stick to the old school. Like when I was young, I did it this way, and I'm not like, no, man. I'm like, this is a new way. I need to adapt. And just learning these new aspects, I find it so fun. Like I could lose myself for hours just in front of my computer, just, you know, modifying one graphic for one episode, right? And I'm like so scared, like, oh, this font, and then I try like a million different fonts. I'm like so picky. I'm like, nope, nope, nope. Oh, this is perfect. I can only imagine when you're video editing, like how, like, have you had any, except for the ones you did for your wrestling promo, like you basically had zero experiences this. It's just like you learn as you go, and do you really try to go by your feel of like where you need to cut the video and switch the angle, or is it you've read and listened to videos that tell you have to look for certain things where you edit certain things, or is it really just by how you feel it looks and how you like it?
Mine was just for feel, because when I would put them together, that's what I didn't even think about that. So when I put both of the files on, I was like, oh shit, what should I do to switch? Like, should I just make it a direct like cut, or should I fade it a little bit?
Yeah,
When should I do it? So I would just while I was excuse me, while I was watching it, because where I had to match up the audio files and stuff, so I had to put more attention in my first one than I will for my next ones, because the audio was messed up. So I was watching stuff over and over again, and then I would watch the person. And the first one with Dave, he would shift. So times when he would lean forward to start talking about an answer, I would switch the camera,
I see.
so that it wasn't just like him just like leaning forward towards the camera. By the time that it got to the second camera, like I could slow the fade or speed it up a little bit more. He was talking and in position. And then like things like that. Like there's one part in the video that I realized, oh shit, my my side light is in like my fill light is too low. So it's like casting like a dark shadow from this way. Or the lights come from this way, so shadows up here. So I go to like move the light around, but not realize that I'm opposite the camera. So
Oh yeah,
you
yeah.
see me in the video literally like trying to like untangle this light, and it like gets unplugged for a second, and like I'm like very ready to freak out. I'm dragging a keg over so I could put it on that. So I had to cut into the interview guy's face. So at one point it just like cuts right into him, and it's like super close. And I was just like, well, you're asking an important question. So it like really worked out that I'm not just like zoomed in on this guy's face randomly, but just the learning of where to do, like how to go about it. has been, I guess, I don't know, like where to go from that is I got super high right now. And I
Yeah,
just
it's
totally
just hitting
fucking
you, right?
guy.
Boom. Dude, sometimes you
There we
just have
go.
conversations. You're like, wait a minute, like
But like, where did we start? Where did
so
we go from
long
that?
ago, man.
Where did we go from there? How did we start? I don't even know how we started. It was just you're asking about.
The editing, like when, like the when I was asking you about the feel, you got all in your feelings about the feel.
Yeah,
That's what happened.
my brother's around the corner, and I know he's laughing at me right now. Like
Oh,
I can't see him, but I know because I just fucking yeah. uh, yeah. So it was just the editing around all of it has been uh, just by feel. I didn't. That's the one thing I kind of stayed away. Like I listened to a lot of the lighting ideas and tips and pointers and everything like that. But everyone I find has a different interview feel.
yeah.
Like I've watched so many interviews that are just shitty. Like just the same cookie cutter questions, the same like tone the whole time. You can't hear the interview guy really
Yeah.
because he doesn't have a mic for himself, and you're just like, oh fuck, like this is like, boring, I guess. You know what I mean? The guy's just sitting, it's just question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. And then there's like if I want the answers to the questions, I'll just message the dude or girl or whatever, like
Yeah.
whoever,
Yeah.
like whatever it is, like message whoever and just be like, all right, what what did you think when you did this? So that's one thing I'm glad I never got to interview Dave because I don't know him as well. But I'm also glad that some of the format for it was mine. Like
Well,
the interview.
when you like, you put out something on the first try, like when I've watched like you many interviews that were, I want to say garbage, but let's use the word garbage because that's what they were. Because sometimes if it's a video interview, it's ruined maybe by the aspect of like the way it's filmed, right? You're like, oof, right away, you're like, ooh, this is not aesthetically pleasing to my eye. I can't get into this. Now I have to force myself to look past it to listen to the interview. But like the minute, like I saw your video, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like I'm like, you're aiming for like something legit. Like it, I don't know about you. I'm gonna give you from my perspective, right? So like when I really got into podcasting, like not from the beginning, I mean like when I started learning and listening to more and more podcasts and listening to how others were doing it and how the ones that have millions and millions of downloads, how they do it, and also how the people that have 25 downloads, how they do it, like the differences and everything, and how you can only imagine, okay, how much does this guy that has millions of downloads, he shuts out 2 to 3 episodes per week sometimes, how does he prepare for this shit? And then most of the time he tells you, he's like, I don't prepare. I sit down, I hit record, and that's what it is. Or others, you listen to other formats where it's like, they're reading off a sheet, they've prepared questions, or even if it's a podcast that you're by yourself, sometimes they're going through a sheet of they want to hit on this point, this point, this point, and it's very structured. And I also enjoy those once in a while. But my preference is that I like this type of format where it's free flowing. But my first reaction to your video was like, okay, like wow, like this doesn't look like something that a first time guy, like this is your first time doing this shit, looks like. That was my impression. Like, man, this looks like he's been doing this on the side for a while, but never wanted to put out his shit. And now he's kind of like forced to because he had to collaborate with someone else on the go. I saw it. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I can only, if that's your first one, like me, like if I look back at the first time I did podcasting, I'll probably be like, oh my God, it hurts to listen to this garbage. Like, wow, And we used to get, I remember at the beginning, I used to drink, and some episodes, we used to get shit-faced on a Saturday afternoon. And those conversations were not good. But now, like I know that I'm a lot better, and it was only through like painful, sometimes cringe-worthy episodes and podcasts. And it's, I think I read a post of yours, or maybe the first post you made about Distinct Breeds when you released it. You said something about like, Well, answer the question maybe. How much anxiety was behind just hitting send or like knowing that it's out there for the first time? That you can't, you hit the button and you're like, fuck that, it's on, it's in the universe now. I can't take it back. How tell me that experience. Is it, because for me it wasn't good.
It was bad. Yeah, it was bad. I stayed up till like 6 o'clock that morning, finalizing, going over every little thing that I could, because like I said, the audio was so jacked up. And I had to time everything. So when I'm recording, like these cameras will only record at 29 minutes and 59 seconds type thing. And then it's got to start another file. So you got to stop for a second, start, clap again, so you can like clip the two audio files together. Yeah. But on top of like doing that, I had to sync up the video files with that, with the wording. So I had to stretch out the whole timeline and like match everything up, and get Emily to come over and put the headphones on, be like, does this match up? Get my brother to come over, same thing, does this match up? And they'd be like, yeah, like, I don't think it does. Like, I think it's like really tiny bit off. And he like had to reassure me and be like, Justin, like, this is the best you're going to be able to do with this type of equipment. Like, like you don't have thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment. So it was just, I was up till like 6 o'clock, and then it's like, okay, fine. It's done. It's rendered. It's exported, uploaded to YouTube. So I click upload to YouTube. I go sit down on the couch. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning, smoking as much weed as I can, because I'm like, all right, I'm like just trying to calm myself down. So I'm trying to smoke up. I did a dab, and I was just like, so like I'm high as shit. And then I come over, and it's like I said, it took about an hour for it to upload to YouTube. It's like, okay. So I come over, and then it says error, file too large. I'm like, oh, what the fuck do you mean file's too large? Like, what do you? And it says, oh, you have to verify with YouTube. And I was thinking, I don't even have any followers. Like, how am I supposed to verify? Because I'm thinking like Twitter, like Instagram, like whatever. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And like I click on like how to verify, and it's just like, answer the email we just sent you. And I was like, you motherfuckers. Like, So, so I was like, yeah, because at first it's like you can only upload 15-minute clips. It's like, oh, geez, that's going to be boring for people to watch. Yeah. So then I had to re-upload it. So by the time it was re-uploaded, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning. And I was just like, I said, fuck it. And I just hit click, and I messaged Dave and Mike, and I said, it's up. And I went to bed. And I just said, no, like I had to go to bed because like, one, I was high as shit. Yeah. And two, if I had to just sit here and like just keep clicking refresh, I'm like, it's like I can't do that to myself. Like I know you can't do that to yourself,
especially not in the beginning. Like you can't. It's hard. I understand that it's hard. Like especially like someone like a project like this where it's video, right? Like that. And as I try to make my podcast, my video version of my podcast more visible, I'm always like, I have this YouTube studio app, which is like, if you create content like maybe you should download it, but it shows you like how many hours people have listened to your thing. It gives you a little bit of statistic, and it also gives you all your videos and how many views. And it's a bit more up to date than the website sometimes. Like sometimes they're a bit late on the views, but it's like you can't, because sometimes I'll just go like, hey, how many did this? And then you're like, like that, damn, like only 4. Ah, shit. And then if you let it get in your head, you're like, fuck, maybe if I shared it more and more and more, and then you share, and you're like, nope, don't work. So it's like you're gonna get to a point, because that's where like I've like recorded to this point like 50 plus episodes, 60 plus episodes throughout all the podcasts I've done, and it's like you have to be willing to go back on the ones that don't do as well and listen and try to figure out, why did this episode do so well? Was it the guest? Maybe, or was it maybe that you were doing this way, and then this episode you're a lot better at this, maybe focus on that. That's harsh, because now that means you got to listen to yourself, and I fucking hate listening to myself. So most of the time I put it out in the stratosphere, in the universe. I hit send. I'll look for the first 3-4 days to see how many listens, how many downloads I get. But after like 1 day or 2 days, I'm like, I move on. I'm like, all right, next episode. Who's my next guest? Who can I work on getting on now? It's always like, I can't spend my week just thinking about the podcast, because that's what I do when I first start podcasting. Like when I launched Le Savage Show, like recently, like the first couple of weeks was it's all I thought about all day, and then I got obsessed with it. I'm like,
I'm sure the wife loved that.
Oh, she was happy as shit, because it's like she knows, like I was like trying to reach out to people, and I don't know about you, like how you do your how you reach out to people, how you contact them. But for me, like if I reach out to you, like I know you're going to come on, and I'm not worried. But like sometimes if I want to have like people that I don't really know, but I'm really interested in talking to, like it takes me a while before I hit the send button to that person. Like, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? Because in my head, I'm like, he's receiving the message. He's like, who's this fucking guy with his 3 followers that I want to go on his podcast, But everybody that I've asked to so far is like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll go on. And it's like, it gets easier after a while. Like you're gonna get no's. You're gonna get people are gonna say, no, I don't feel comfortable, or no, I just don't want to. And you have to be willing to go, okay, no problem, and then move on to the next person. And you have to be willing to put yourself out there. And I think as pro wrestlers, we are accustomed to that. So I think we're a bit quicker to go through all the negative shit, like, oh, no one's going to listen to this. Oh, maybe somebody will. Oh, my friends will. And then you kind of go like, fuck it, hit send. And you're like, oh shit, just screaming. Let's get high. Let's go to bed. And in 8 hours, I'll see how many views I get,
Yeah.
Fuck, man. But hey, bravo, man. Like I said, like that shit for me was, I saw that. I'm like, number one, like I said earlier, it's fun to see that you took this fucking pandemic and fucking did something. And now 8 months in, you're like, this is my new project. This is what I'm putting my energy in. And you're fucking, you're figuring it out on your own, man. I have so much respect for that shit.
Appreciate it. I didn't know. Like when I presented like the idea, when I finally, because there was a few people I talked to about it, and they all just said, just do it. Just go for it. And like you said, trying to reach out and talk to people or ask people. So like the first few people I've asked, they were my close friends. Like there's certain people that I want to interview. Like, of course, I want to sit down and interview Connors. I want to be behind the camera and like hit questions that like people probably haven't asked or thought of or stuff. And like, because I've gotten to know him on an amazing level the past 5 years, but a lot of people just view him as the quiet one. When he's not the quiet one. He just, as soon as there's like, if we're in front of a crowd, he is. And it's not because he's nervous. It's because, well, if there's already one loudmouth, like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So
you're just talking over each other at one point.
Yeah. And he knows I can't fucking control it. So like he has more self-control. So
it's like me and Mustafa sometimes, like we go on tangents and we're just both mouths going, and I'm like, no one's listening to us right now. We're just screaming shit at the fans. We just look at each other. I'm like, just stop. Because I'm like, we're just spewing. And sometimes you go and when you're so hyped up on fucking adrenaline, the curtain opens, you run out and you're just saying the most outlandish shit. And you're like, and then you look at the video. Sometimes you're like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, why was I so hyped up? Fuck. Yeah. I could totally get that.
I remember when we were at that ball hockey rink. I can't remember the name of it. We faced Mark and Victor.
Yeah.
So we had a fun. It was a fun match. We executed a couple things that like I wanted to make sure we hit. So I was like, okay, we hit a couple things, but our match got cut. Not our match got cut short. I think something dragged on in our match, which made us lose time. And we got the call to go home. And I was like, shit. Well, we can't just like, we literally can't hit the next move without this one first. Like I can't just stand there and just not lay. Like I have to get knocked down. So like, I know the rule is when you hear go home, next move is go home. But literally Drew would get pissed at us if I just laid down without being hit first. So I remember like, how much time do we actually have? And he's like, you got like 40 seconds. Okay, perfect. Bang, 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 bang. Hit it. Boom. I remember when we came back and we had to shoot promos after the show, and it was our promos against your promos. And I remember me and you slyly trying to be the last ones in the room so that we could play off what you guys said. we were trying to understand what you guys said so that our promo would be better. But you were doing the same thing. I could see you. You were like, not going in yet. You guys go ahead. You guys go ahead.
Yeah.
Because we could hear each other over the wall. So it's like, you guys go ahead. We got to figure out ours still. And it's like, no, you guys go ahead. You guys got this. And then finally, someone on the camera crew was like, just fucking get in here.
That was John. I remember John yelling at us like, someone needs to get in there. I was like, I used to do that to Dawson and the team tight all the time.
You have to with them.
Let these fucking guys go first because they're golden. And then if I say something and because I know if I go first and Dawson gets the feed off what
just gives him more fucking ammo.
Fuck that guy. He's gonna fucking bury me. So I'm like, no. So I go first. That night was fun. That's the night that you guys fucking raised chaos in the dressing room. Remember?
Yes. Yeah.
That promo. I didn't even know if that promo ever came out. Oh yeah, I think it did. Right?
I think it did come out. One thing I want to call Drew out for this is we've never seen any of our matches from Torture Chamber. You guys have got to study all of our stuff and everything like that, and we've seen 0 matches because we haven't had anything sent to us. I
haven't seen my match. I haven't seen our match. I believe from the Saint-Hyacinthe. Remember last year?
Oh yeah,
yeah. I was going through pictures because I was updating my Facebook page, and I was going through pictures, and then I fucking found the pictures of that night. Man, there was some nice fucking pictures in that night. I took a lot of the pictures to update my my Facebook cover and shit like that. Yeah. And it reminded me of that night. I kind of forgot about that match, like, you know, because it was like at the end of the season. It was like it was the last show before the summer break, and then we didn't really see each other until that December show at that ice rink, right? That was in December, wasn't it? Because it was fucking cold as that.
Yeah, but we had to be up there before that. We had to had to be up there once or twice before that.
You came for one of those dojo shows.
The Sundays, yeah.
Yeah, Sunday, Showcase Sundays. I think it's like oh man. But I remember that night. That night was fun, man. That night was fucking fun. We had a good
We had a great time. And we got to do a beatdown. Drew's like, I need to, like, it's one take and you guys got to beat them up.
It was fun. I remember walking into the dressing room, you guys were leaving, and we were building up to something. We
were setting up for it was going to be a singles match, like storyline. So like me versus you, Connors versus Mustafa, and those two would put off an amazing match because like they're very similar, yet like Connors is obviously more meaner. I guess he's meaner in his character, but like Mustafa can switch it on, and I've seen it. So it's like seeing them go together. And me and you, when we were told it, me and you just looked at each other and were like, we're gonna beat the fuck out of each other.
It's like a
we've talked about this. We talked about this on the other podcast. It's like we're gonna beat the hell out of each other, and people are gonna like leave going like, do they hate each other? Like, oh. We just wanted to bring the believability to it.
Dude, we had that, man. I remember when we had our matches. I'm like, man, There's certain tag team. I see it more in tag team. I find it's easier when I go places and wrestle as single. Chemistry with one person is obviously easier to build, and there's just certain people that I love being able to work with someone for the first time, and there's instant chemistry, and you're like, God damn, this is fun. You know, I had that with Justin Turnbull. I remember Justin Turnbull, our first match we fucking did, it was like boom, and we got like, I was like, oh, man, I want to wrestle this guy all the time. In tag team, it's hard to find chemistry because sometimes you'll fit chemistry in with one of the two guys, or like it's not a match, you know, for both. But man, like guys like you and Drew and Mike, and there was just a few teams that it's wrong. It's you got to try hard to have a bad fucking match. Like you actually have to try hard. Like, I mean, I look at my matches and I'm so hard on myself. I go, they're all horrible. Like, they're all horrible.
The whole match is shit because of that one thing I did over in the corner that no one else saw, but I did it. The whole match sucks. It blows. It's the worst. It's the worst.
I'll pick out something and then I'll show it to my wife. She's like, I don't see it. I'm like, I watched this match 3 times. I never noticed that. Now I'm noticing it because you're pointing it out. I said, but she's like, I don't. I was like, it doesn't ruin the match for me. And I'm just like, it's horrible. That's horrible. It wrecks everything in my head anyway for 5 minutes. fuck, man. It's hard because I'm so critical of myself. I think a lot of wrestlers are. I come across a lot of pro wrestlers that are extremely critical of themselves. I think
Yeah.
you need to be, right, because you
There's,
just
I
get
think
better
there's a
every time.
point. I think there's a point. Like I remember, like obviously I've only been doing this 5 years, but
Yeah,
there
same.
was like three after like the 3 year mark. There was a point that just hit. I don't know if it was like someone in the back just looked at me and was like, "Give me a shrug," or if it was just it clicked where I came back and I thought the match was fucking brutal, but then I looked at it, like I looked back at it because someone recorded it from the back or whatever, and literally it was like no one would have picked up on it.
Yeah,
But it's like there's a moment where it clicked for me where it just went, well, it's fucking done. I know I'm not a shitty wrestler.
yeah,
Like I'm not perfect, obviously, but I know that what I went out there and I gave it my all, and 99% of the match was great in my eyes, in the sense of I got across what I wanted to get across.
yeah.
Uh, why that 1% was like, why are you letting that fucking bother you? Like, just go out there next time and learn from it. And like, I feel like it was a Dukes moment where Tyson was in the back and like he just gives like the fatherly, you know what I mean? And I just like, okay, yeah, that's
Like
fair.
nod of approval. Like, all right, I'm good.
It was like it was more not even I don't even know if I've gotten a nod. I did get a nod of approval from him once, so that was awesome. But it was just a moment where he just went, fuck it, like. And this is coming from a guy that has done a lot of great things, and meaning if he'd done a lot of great things, he probably got there by messing up a few times.
Yeah, of course.
It didn't bother him, so why am I letting it bother me? So yeah, it was just one of those moments where you get it kind of clicks in your head going, I can't be so critical of myself. I still have to be hard. I want the best out of it, but
Yeah.
that one moment I can't let it ruin that 15 minutes of a great match. So
Have you wrestled during this pandemic at all? Zero, right? So
zero.
same here. And have you given it any thought of like, did this time off give you time to reflect on like what wrestling is going to be for you once you get back to it? Like, do you think it's obviously going to be different at first, like as far as the shows and the aspect of this? But like as far as like you like growing as a professional wrestler, like has this time off given you time to like reflect on like where you're going with the tag team or as with your persona or like how you're planning on coming back, or is it you haven't taken that time?
Um, it's been thought about a lot because like we went from not wrestling or went wrestling all the time, like multiple times a month, like every weekend almost, to nothing. So your mind still is in wrestling mode. Uh, we had like, if we had to just go one more weekend, things could have been so much different for us, I feel, because we had like a great weekend hauled out from underneath us that would have just like put eyes on us for a second and could have possibly led to like eyes on us for more than a second and gotten to like open some doors. So it was like really discouraging for the longest time, where it's like, I'm done. I'm done. Like I
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? But of course, time
Heals all
help.
things, right?
Yeah. So it was more so, okay, well, obviously coming back from this, we're so far away, we know we're not going to be going to Montreal anytime soon. So when it picks up around here again, we just give it our all around here and see where it goes from there. Like I'm going back to school in March for crane operating and like transport truck driving. So like that's got to be my focus for a while. So it kind of like falls in a good time, I guess, where I can only be doing local shows anyways. So it's like I don't have to be stressing about getting off 5 o'clock from school and then driving 12 hours to wrestle up in Montreal, or 14 hours, whatever it is. So
Yeah.
right now it's just like taking it as it comes, because like everything's changed. Like we went from things are getting really well around here to now gyms have been closed for 2 weeks. Yeah, it'll be 2 weeks now. Uh, no shows have been happening. like the borders are closed again. So like I can't even go see Connors. Connors can't come down here. I can't see the rest of the guys. So it's just, there's a show playing in February in Moncton.
Yeah.
What happens if half the roster can't get there because we're in Nova Scotia and we're not allowed to cross the border? Like what's going to happen then, right? And knock on wood that it doesn't happen, that it doesn't happen or anything. But it's just like that's the world we live in now, where it's.
Dude, we've been locked up. No gym, no restaurants since October 1st. They said it was going to be for 28 days, and we're still locked up till mid-January. And things are just like, we got to 2,000 cases in a day last week, like we're in the fucking thick of things over here. Like us, Ontario and Alberta, it's not good. And we went on lockdown on October 1st when there was below 1,000 cases. So how are you going, even with a vaccine? Like I was telling my wife, like we had this conversation. We've been having this conversation a lot because I saw like, because I'm a bit more of a pessimist than my wife. So I kind of like, I try to see the broader things and where I try to foresee where this was going. And I would always try to balance out between the positive and the negative, because I could go this way where it ends up in fucking everybody wants to burn the world, or I can end up in here. Right. And we had spoken, like I said, look, just 3 weeks ago, I just said something like I'm afraid that soon it's going to get to a point here in Montreal where like, if there's people that come over to our house, we can have a police knock on our door, come in and find us for having people over. And my wife was like, that won't never happen. It's just, they're using scare tactics, or they're blowing steam, they're just talking out of their ass. 3 weeks later, we're at a point now in Montreal where if you have people over and you get the cop knocks at your door, it's $6,000 fine for the person that owns that place. And about 15, from what I've heard, it's like $1,500 or $1,600 fine for everybody else in the house that doesn't live there. So you're like 3 weeks from you didn't think this was possible to it's a fucking thing. 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And now we're having more and more cases. And then you're just like, and as much as I want to ignore all the noise and all the chatter, because at the end of the day, even though there's a fucking global pandemic going on, the people that I have to be in charge for, my wife and my kids, that little unit for me is nothing but good. Like we are good. People are healthy physically and mentally. I make sure that we eat healthy, take all our supplements, take all our vitamins. So if we do get fucking sick, it'll be a fucking breeze for us. I'm doing my fucking part for my family. I'm putting my mask on when I'm going outside. I'm not arguing with anybody, and I'm not bitching about anything. I just need to do what I think is best for my family.
Yeah.
But God damn, man, it's getting to a point where like, it's not getting any better. And now I'm seeing places where it was so good, like New Brunswick and Nova Scotia and the Maritimes. And I'm like, dude, like they're closing up too slowly. And if things don't get any better, they're going to get to the same point as we are right now, where everything is mostly closed. And you're going, dude, what's going to happen? This might be the weed talking, but what happens if the vaccine comes out, right? Everybody starts getting vaccinated, but the fucking cases don't go down. Then do you think the government is still going to tell us the numbers after they fucking vaccinate people and the numbers still don't go down? Or do you think they're not going to tell us? Like your brain goes into these fucked up places sometimes and you're like, fuck, man, who do I believe? And when is this going to fucking end? Like I started off on the most liberal side of things at the beginning, like just fucking stay home. This is a real virus. Just fucking stay home. Now I'm at a point where I saw some shit and I've seen and I've heard of and I've spoken to people that you're like, man, it's a head scratcher. You're like, are those numbers real, or are they being not really transparent about the whole deal? Because now things is not getting any better and we've been doing everything you've been asking us to,
Yes and no. Well, we have been doing everything that's been
That's
asked
right.
of
You're
us,
right. You're right. You're right.
and that's where the, there's for every good person there's a fucking bad person,
Yeah.
and by bad person I mean like I got a little relaxed at the gym that we were at because we were so clean with everything,
Yeah.
that literally everyone had a spray bottle and a cloth that and then when you left, those spray bottles got sprayed and wiped down, and those cloths went into a laundry bin and they got washed and everything. So that we were so clean with everything else, and everybody that was at the gym was so clean about everything
Yeah.
that we kind of like got a little relaxed. And of course, there's like, we're near each other in
Hmm.
pictures and all that shit. But then I noticed those people at the gym seeing their stories, and some of them would be going out and going to places, and that's fine. It's like it was really good here at one point. We had 0 cases at one
Yeah.
point. So it's like fine, yeah, go out, like, you know what I mean, like everything's like socially distanced at bars and stuff, so like there's no issues. But then there's like these couple idiots that brought it back out, like the main ones that started all this came from travel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's where most of the.
it was someone that came in and didn't isolate properly and didn't communicate properly that they were there to let other people know so that they can monitor themselves, and then it just spread. So like now it's to the point that yeah, shit shut down, but we're still dealing with like the shit transmits. So
Yeah.
it's like I said, we did good because I stayed home. Like I'm drove nuts. Like I there's days where like, you know, me and my brother and my girlfriend live here, and there's days where I just need to like go in the bedroom for a half hour and just lay down, just to like, not because I don't want to be around my family, just because as a human I just need a little bit of space. And I'm sacrificing like my mental health at times because I don't go out. Like if I go out, it's to the grocery store.
Yeah.
It's like I go to the grocery store. And before that, before gyms closed, it was to the gym. That was it. I think I went to a restaurant twice in the whole time of the pandemic. And it was like I said, when we had 0 cases. So it's like, okay, like we're doing good here. Like, why not? And then cases started picking back up and my anxiety went. And a week before they shut down everything, I didn't leave the apartment. I was like, not risking it, not doing it. There's no fucking point because there's people out there that don't give a shit.
So many.
And it's I get that, and I'm not talking about people's businesses and stuff like that that has been affected by it. None of that, because I don't own a business and I can't speak on that.
Hmm.
But if you're just a person that has an apartment, that has a place to lay your head, has food, why the fuck do you need to go out to places?
Mm.
Like I get like you want to be around a bunch of people, but we were at a point here in Maritimes that you could have a bunch of people over to your place.
Yeah.
It was fine. Just like be a little bit more distant. And like in all honesty, I don't mind that because I like not having someone right up next to me talking to me like this, especially after having a couple drinks. Let's keep a couple feet apart. I like that. That's perfectly fine. And people just didn't respect it. And then the idiots that came in, it just spread because we were so relaxed with it. So until people stop being so relaxed with it, it's just going to keep going.
You have a lot of people that are they like that. They get relaxed about it. They believe in it, but they get relaxed. Or then you have the extreme, the people that just don't give a fuck and they seem to want to be combative about it because they want to virtue signal on what fucking team they're on, and they just want to scream and make a muck of this thing, saying that the government is using this. And you know that, I mean, if you spend 30 seconds on fucking social media, you might as well. I don't know about social media. I'm sorry. I'm putting all the eggs in the same basket. I'm talking more about Facebook. I find on Facebook there's way more of that negative chatter, negative noise. And I've learned early on during this thing that I was not going to share or participate in most of that garbage
Yep.
because I I feel pretty secure in my point of view and how I choose to view this thing. And again, I go back to what I said earlier. For me, the important thing is I need to keep my family safe. I need to keep my kids safe. I need to make sure their mental health is on par, is fine, not just physically, but their mental health, very important, especially at their age. And same thing with my wife. My wife works from home since the beginning of this. Our dining room is now her office. She spends most of her days, and she's busy. She's fucking busy, and that's why we started working out so that she could have like that thing where like she can spend an hour per day just letting go of all the work and escaping, because now it's like she was working from home, so home is like work. Like you need to go outside now. Let's spend more time outside. Like the amount of time that me and the family spent just across the street on this little patch of grass this summer and fall is I almost every day we go out. I go out with the kids, I throw the football ball with my son, and we work out on that little patch of grass. But for that hour, that we're an hour and a half that we're on that patch of grass, there's nothing else, there's no pandemic. We're working out, which is good for me. I get to work out. It's good for me physically, mentally. It fucking clears up all these cobwebs I have out there. It slays all the demons, how I like to say it.
Yeah.
But it's necessary for me, and that's why I took up running during this pandemic, because it was the one thing that I thought was the easiest. Like I missed going to the gym and lifting heavy weights, and I didn't have these heavy weights at home. I had a few dumbbells, but it was mostly, and I was like, I need to find something to push myself harder than just being able to do squats and push-ups. So I adapted, and then I changed my workouts, and I became more of an endurance person now than I was now as a power guy before, even just, not really power, but like less about lifting, more about endurance for the moment. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to go back once the gym's open and start lifting weights. Like believe me, I can't fucking wait. Like I'm so fucking skinny right now at it's fucking ridiculous. Like I need to put some weight on. It's hard to put on muscle mass when you only have a 20-pound dumbbell at home. You're trying to curl that shit 100 times, and you're like, man, it's building lean muscle, but it sure isn't building any big fucking pipes over here. And I look myself in the mirror, and I've let the fucking chest hair grow out in the winter, to fluff it up a little bit, because my wife says it all the time. She's like, Jesus Christ, you're so skin and bones. I'm like, I'm trying, baby. I'm trying. Fuck, man. I'm so like, when I did my marathon in October, like I ran almost every day. I lost like, I don't know how many pounds, but I was down to 180. And that's like, I haven't been that since fighting like fucking 13 years. About 13 years ago, 14 years ago. Like 180 pounds. That's skinny as fuck for me. I normally hover between like around the 200s. So
I'd be watching your shit of you like running, and like your diet is like all dialed in and stuff. And I'm going to the powerlifting gym, and I'm on the way. I'm eating whatever I want. Really, I'm just motivational, but I'm here's my burger, and I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Like,
that's another.
I've been trying to dial it in a little bit more now, but
that's another thing you did. You started being really more implemented in during this pandemic was powerlifting, right? Did you I don't remember, but did you do it before the pandemic, or is it something you got into during the pandemic? I forget.
I was doing deadlift. I was doing like the big three. Before, like I had a trainer for a while, and I was hitting like good numbers for someone that was just starting out doing it. But then, like I'd be deadlifting like 315 at Good Life, and I'm getting bitched out by the yoga class because I'm making too much noise.
Oh, fuck.
And I'm like, okay, so I got to find somewhere where I can, because like I want to go heavier, you know what I mean? And I was getting up in the 400 range, and I'm like, okay, I'm clearly, this isn't the gym for me. And they're like, oh, just use the bumper pads or the deadlift pads, which add like this much height. And you're like, no, that throws everything off. You know what I mean?
It's got to be from the ground.
Yeah. So then my friend Neil, he owns Lucky Cat Barbershop here. He mentioned this gym was opening up. and this was before the pandemic, and I was like, okay, like I didn't think anything of it. And then during the pandemic, I seen an ad about it, and I messaged my buddy Neil. I was like, is this a gym you're talking about? And he's like, yeah, like definitely check it out. So I was the second person to sign up, about a full year membership, because as soon as I walked in, I seen big tires, Atlas stones, huge sleds, yokes, and then like weight. Like I've gone to that gym, and every 45-pound, 35-pound, and 25-pound plate has been off the racks and on bars. Like the people that go there are fucking insane. Like there's a guy there that comes there sometimes and he reps 750 for reps deadlifting.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, this is because like you don't get, there's no mirrors. There's a mirror in each bathroom. That's it. There's no mirrors. It's just turn on music. It's loud. And everyone there, like there's people there that come from different walks of life that, you know, to them, they might feel like they're lifting like low weight, but they're not. Like they're doing what they can, and they come in, and like we've had people that has like struggled. There's one guy, my buddy Bobby, he was doing a log press and he couldn't get it up. The whole gym stopped what they were doing to cheer him on. And you don't see that at any other gym. You'll never, ever see that at another gym.
You're not gonna see that at Good Life.
Yeah, sorry, at Good Life. You'll see that at small gyms. You'll see that at small gyms, and that's what this is like. Sorry. So yeah, you won't see that at big global gyms. You're not gonna see that at Good Life or fitness.
At Nautilus, whatever. You're gonna be on your leg curl machine. You'll be like, hey, let me go help you. Go log. Where do you find this log, by the way? Huh? I didn't know they had logs at Nautilus.
So he's struggling to get this up. We all stopped what we're doing. And there was two people there that were just there for like a day pass just to come see what it was about. They stopped what they were doing and went and signed up for year memberships because of the community that we have there.
It's like a family, right?
It's like gym, right? Yeah, it's like such a family.
Create like a bond of people that have one singular purpose when they're in that gym, right?
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Man, there's girls there that are 150 pounds and they can deadlift over 300 pounds.
They probably lift more than I definitely lift more than I do now.
Like there's times where I have been humbled by the opposite sex, and I do not mean that in a bad way whatsoever. Yeah. That's times where I'm just like, she fucking puts in work. Like, you know what I mean? Like you put in work, you get the results. And just like watching someone like just destroy something that you've done, male, female, or whatever they identify as, you see someone beat you and you're like, okay, I got to get that now. And like, there's just like such a camaraderie there where you just don't get at another gym. So I've really been putting a lot of focus into it, but then I put a lot of focus in the bench during the summer and I let everything else slack off. Cause like, I was like, I need to bench 3 plates on each side. I need to bench 315. I need to do it. And I got it, which was amazing. And like, I was so proud of myself, but then I looked and was like, oh man, my deadlift has dropped. My squat has dropped. So I was like, okay, now I need to, so now I hired a coach to give me workouts, and then the gym's shut down. And then when the gym shut down, my mental health went like this. Yeah. So I haven't touched a weight in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks now. It's just like, I'm going to start, obviously, like I'll start Monday, you know, that bullshit, but like I'll get back at it.
It's, when that opportunity that gym gets taken away from you. Like I remember when they closed the gym at the beginning of all this, like in March, whatever it was, right? They closed the gyms. I didn't give 2 shits about the gym. I was so worried back then of this fucking new virus. Like, is it going to fucking kill everybody? Or we're all going to be on a, like the last thing I could fucking, plus I was injured at the beginning of this. Like,
yes,
I was
you were,
a bad concussion. I couldn't even work out if I wanted to. Like the minute my blood pressure would spike out of control. Like it was bad. But I remember not thinking about it. And I remember when I slowly started getting back into working out, and then I got into working out in like intense workouts here at home. I got so much into that habit and that new lifestyle and how I was feeling that when the gyms opened up in the summer, I went 4 times, I think 4 or 5 times. I was like, you know what? For now, I'm good. Maybe winter comes along. I'm definitely going to be lifting more weight. So I'll be, I'll stick to this. And then in October, the gyms closed again. And then I was fucked because I didn't, now I'm like, you know what? Like this second lockdown, I really went like, okay, now when the gyms open up, hopefully in 2021 for fuck's sakes, if they open up, like I want to concentrate on this. Like I might join like an Olympic lifter, like go to an Olympic lifter because I want to learn how to do Olympic lifts now. Like I want to add that arsenal to my toolbox so that I'm able to start working out and implementing different workouts and not be so endurance based, but more have a balance in between the weightlifting and the cardio aspect of it. Like
there's at our gym, Prime Strength Club, plug it. Shout out. So at there is an Olympic lifting spot as well. So like there's strongman, there's like powerlifting stuff. Like we have monolift and like a bunch of racks. And then we have Olympic lifting platforms as well. So there's like a community of people where some people are bodybuilders that come there. A lot of bodybuilders don't like gyms where we only have 2 cable machines. Like we have a lat pull down, we have a row, and then we have 2 like cable attachments where you can like lower them up and down. Yeah, that's it. Everything else is dumbbells or barbells. And it's like, and then there's like the strongman stuff. But like we have people come from like the Olympic lifting side and they just love it because, you know, there's a strong man over here that's about to deadlift 600 pounds, but he's amazed that this guy has taken 300 and thrown it up over his head. You know what I mean? So it's just like, we're all in different aspects of it, but we're not just this generalized gym where if you want to go work out and that's fine, go do that. But if you want to specialize in certain things, and like you said, do you want to try Olympic lifting? Go to a spot that has it. So like there's CrossFit places that have Olympic lifters there as well that teach that stuff. Definitely seek it out because like the people that I know that do it, the stuff they can do, like I'd love to be able to learn it, but I don't know if I ever will because like the taking that much weight and tossing it up over your head, like I can do it for a military press, but like I can get it out of my way pretty quick. And like that stuff's like a whole new thing. Like, So, but yeah, I'd love to see you get at that because I know that's something that you definitely love.
When I got into the whole running thing, I fell in love with it. You know, for 30 days, I was in it so much that when I came out of it, when I ran the marathon, I for a few weeks after that, I didn't do anything. And I was like, dude, I've done enough running. Like running is not something that I started off loving. It was a love-hate relationship because it's not until I figured out that it was really helping with my mental health and that I was able to like really like fucking slay those demons through running long distances. Like I remember when I said to my wife, I was like, you know what? I said at the beginning of the year that I was going to run a marathon before I turned 40. I turned 40 in about fucking 40 days. Like I need to either accept that I'm not going to accomplish this and feel like shit, or destroy myself for 30 days and do something crazy like I don't normally do. And my wife kind of looked at me and she knew exactly what the fuck. She's like, well, I know you. She's like, you're going to do this. So just fucking commit to it. And I committed to it for 30 days. And I remember at first I was like, dude, this is going to be like, what am I gotten myself into, you know? And I remember the first time I ran, I had never ran more than 10 kilometers before this. And it was like once, like 7 years ago. And I was like, I remember the first time I ran the first week I ran 16K. And I'm like, if I'm able to do the 16K without breaking down and saying, fuck this shit, this is way too hard. Like my mind is okay. I'm good. I'll be able to do this in 20 some days and run the marathon, you know? Yeah. And I remember finishing the 16K and I'm like, all right, let's see how I feel tomorrow. And then the next day came and obviously, you know, you're sore, you're feeling places and you're like, okay, this is going to hurt these next 30 days. Once I was able to accept that and stop worrying about how I was going to feel the next day, I was just going to push through the pain on that day and on that run. If my hip was bothering me, I was going to stretch and do my best that I could. But it was really all about how far I was willing to push it up here in order to accomplish this fucking goal. Yeah. And when I see like guys like power lifters, like it's the same aspect, right? There's a lot of it that goes into it. It's all up here. It's like, yeah, you're lifting some godly amount of weight off the ground. You know, if you're deadlifting 700 pounds, you're like, Jesus Christ, like that's like, you can't just do it with all mental. You actually have to be fucking strong, right?
Yeah.
But there is an aspect of seconds before you tug on that fucking weight that you know is not going to come up initially. You're going to have to pucker your asshole up and make sure you fucking squeeze your core and get all your ducks in a row in order for you not to shit your pants and rip, you know, a bunch of muscles you didn't think you had, you know, you can't. And I remember when I deadlifted, the most I did was 365 at one point, I think. And I remember when I tried it the first time, I didn't get the bar completely up and it slipped and I dropped it. And I was like, dude, like I can't go home now without lifting this weight. And on the first try, I was like, dude, it's not going to get easier now. Like now it's in my head that I didn't lift it the first time. Like you think the second time I'm obviously just going to forget that I just tried this 2 minutes ago and it still didn't work. And I remember on the second try, I got it up and I was like, okay. And then on the next set, I did it 3 times. So I knew it was all in my head.
Yeah.
You know, once I got the bar up, I was able to rep it 3 times. I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm over that hump now. I know that my body can withstand this thing. But man, it's a mental game. That's why I have so much respect for guys like power lifters, because they didn't give a shit about the aesthetic of what lifting weights bring you. It's all about adding weight on that bar every single time you're in that gym. More weight, more weight, more weight, more weight, more weight, more weight. Even if it's half a fucking pound, it's more weight, and push, pull, just fucking do it.
When I first got into wrestling, of course, when I think everyone first gets into wrestling, they got to be a body guy. They got to be someone that, you know, either chiseled or like, so whatever, like you lose the fat and look good. So I tried chasing that for a couple of years horribly because I just never had any desire to like have abs or anything like that. But in my mind, I'm telling myself I need to. So at one point, the trainer I had at Good Life, he just started training me, and we're figuring out what I wanted to do, like what were my goals. He knew I was a wrestler, so he was incorporating some cardio stuff, but explosive stuff. So like it worked for wrestling. And on top of that, it was just like, all right, just get stronger, I guess. He's like, okay, so let's do this. And he introduced me to the bench. Like, of course, I knew how to bench. Well, I knew what benching was, but I didn't know how to do it properly.
Yeah.
And I might have squat like once in my life, but I never deadlifted. So he showed me this, and it was to a point where I realized, okay, I'm not going to get abs. I don't want abs. I just want to get stronger.
Yeah.
I want to be able to catch like a 200-pound guy coming off the top rope, catch him without any worry. And just people in the crowd go, oh shit, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like that's impressive. You know what I mean? Like just be able to catch him out of the air and just toss him. Like I want to be strong. So that was the goal, is to put as much weight on the bar as I could. And like, just like seeing things progress. And then like people, like some wrestlers would like recognize it and be like, dude, like I see your lifts are getting stronger. I see your work in the ring is getting like more, like more, not profound, sorry, but like just more distinct. Like they can see what I'm going for now. Like I'm just want to be that strong guy. Like not like Marco or Frankie or anything like that, but just like a big guy that can come out and just grab a motherfucker and toss him across the ring, and it's believable. Like, sure, is he getting helped a little bit? Maybe, but can he pick that guy up and throw him? Yeah, he can do that. Like, that's what I wanted. And then that's what I realized is like, okay, I don't have to worry about how much sugar is in this and how much, like, I have to worry about like this crap. Obviously, dial it in better, but go lift weights. Just go fucking pick up weights and don't worry about how many curls you can do, worry how many times you can lift at 315 or 405 or 500 off the ground. Like how
Yeah.
much can you do that? That's what's important. And then when I realized that, my body just started looking better, like feeling better.
It's the consequences of what you're doing, right?
Yeah, like I was just like got bigger, and then like one day I was sitting down, and Emily looked at me, and she's like, "Holy shit, your arms got bigger." I was like, "I haven't done curls in 9 months,"
Yeah.
and she's like, "Well, whatever it is," and it's like, "Oh, functional strength actually
Yeah.
makes you look bigger."
I started noticing muscles on my body that I was like, same thing. Like I started noticing my biceps were becoming bigger when I started implementing like certain lifts and certain like, cause I was for the last 2 years before the pandemic, a lot of my workouts were like CrossFit inspired where there was some lifting, but it wasn't about heavy lifting anymore. Like I didn't want like, just like you, like your goal was in the ring to be the strong guy. Your guy jumps on you, you catches him mid-air and you can fucking sling him. Me, I want to be able to go for 30 minutes, 40
Yeah.
minutes and be able to fucking get pummeled and get back up, get pummeled and get back up and fight back and be able to, no one can hang with me. I beat him. He kept getting back up until I was so tired, you know, like that persona, like, and if anybody follows me on social media, they're going to like that guy. It's the weirdest thing. And I didn't start noticing that people were paying attention like that until like almost on a weekly basis. I'd have someone come up to I work out at Gold's Gym, right? It's pretty big. There's all sort of people that go there from, you know, very intense lifters to certain guys like me that are a bit more like a CrossFit genre. And then you have a lot of, you know, women go there and are very intense with their workouts. And then you have the class people. You have all sorts of different people.
Yeah.
And once in a while I have like that, like they'd look at me and they'd be like, what are you training for? And I'd be like, what do you mean? Like, are you training for some sort of competition? I'm like, no, I'm just training. And they're like, Jesus Christ. They'd see me do these like extremely hard, like cardio. Like I jump from like I have a workout where I do like a 40 cal row. Then I jump to doing like kettlebell swings, to doing like dumbbell presses, like snatch presses, and then burpees, and then start over at the fucking rower and then back. And then they'd come like, what are you training? I'd be like, I'm just training for life, man. Like, I don't know. And just like you, like the more I did that, the more I started noticing that for me, it was important that once I started clicking that the more intense I do this thing, the better this works right here. The mental health issues, the anxiety, the depression, it doesn't exist when I'm like this. Hey, and then you become in the habit where it becomes like a drug where like, if I don't have it today, yeah, I'm not fun to be around. So everybody got on board with me going to the gym every day. My wife, my kids, they're like, yeah, daddy is way more fun when he gets to go to the gym for an hour and a half, you know? Yeah. And then just like you, the side effect of fucking throwing weights around extremely hard for an hour and a half is that, look, man, I got abs. Hey, look, I got more pecs. My shoulders are way bigger. My arms are getting bigger, leaner. Like I'm starting to see more definition. And when I started noticing that, I was like, dude, this is like fucking, and not just that, but I started feeling great physically, mentally. Like, look, my libido started fucking skyrocketing. My wife was happy. Everybody was fucking happy. And I'm like, yeah, baby. And it became a drug for me. Yeah. So when I got injured and then the pandemic hit, for me, it was really hard at the beginning, but luckily throughout life, I've been able to adapt to situations because I've through all the experiences, I guess I've gone through in life. It's taught me that you got to be adaptable on a fucking flip from one day to the next. You got to be able to go, well, I got to put this on the back burner for a while and I got to do something else because life just threw me a fucking curveball and I got to deal with it. Yeah. And I feel like that's what I've been able to do during this pandemic. And I've been able to keep my shit together because I've been able to be adaptable to all this thing. And I see you doing the same thing and I see other people doing the same thing. And I'm like, thank God, because I'm like, this is what we need more of. We need more examples of shit is bad. We all know, but look at me, look at him, look at them. He's fucking he's just flying, creating new content, doing this, new projects. He doesn't let this shit stop him. That's for me, that I mean, like the more people I see doing that kind of stuff, it inspires me, and I know it inspires a lot of other people, you know, it motivates them, does good shit, positive shit, man, positive shit. So many negative shit. I'm now with this fucking pandemic, I'm done with it. Like I'm like, let's just stay on the happy side of as
I've
hard
been
as
trying
it
to
is, right?
I've been trying to get that mindset too, because I've been in like a shitty mindset for the past little bit, and it's just because it's all around. There's just shitty attitudes all around, and it just like got sucked into it. And then of course, like you said, gym shut down, and you're like, okay, well, I may as well just be negative like everyone else. But you gotta try to
It's
fight
human
out of it.
nature, right? You fall into that bad habit of just going, you know what, fuck it, I don't have the time today or the energy. I'm just gonna be a soak in my own self-pity a little bit because it feels better than just all the other negative bullshit, you know? And it's like I have to keep my brain occupied as much as possible, because if I don't, then I fall into that same trap where I'm like, no, I'll eat that bag of chips today and I'll just feel like shit after, but it'll be it, you know?
I'll still eat the chips. I'll just go work out.
That I do that too. Like I've haven't been as clean in the last few months. I eat a lot more sugar, a lot more cookies. I allow myself, because when I was running and I was burning fucking 6,000 calories sometimes in a fucking 20K run, dude, I couldn't put in the food fast enough. Like I was always hungry. It'd be 9 o'clock at night, and I'm like, dude, like I could eat a fucking steak, potatoes, and veggies right now, and probably I'd feel like eating a bag of chips and a fucking bunch of cookies after, and then I'd be like just burning calories. I didn't have to worry because I knew I was going to burn all these calories, right? And at least there's one good thing about working out and shit. So fuck.
Honestly, like I said, I've been in like a shitty mood like the past 3 weeks, but this has helped a lot. Where it's like, okay, time to get back underneath the bar and stuff. Because I've got like a wooden power rack that I bought.
I saw that,
yeah. So I've got that set up in there. I haven't touched it yet. My brother has, but it's just like I've just been in my own head. So it's like, all right, cook up some meals and get back to it. You know what I mean? Like it's just gotta.
Sometimes it's like one little thing you have to like just like snap out of it, you know. It's hard for everybody, and I pay attention to a lot of people, not just like people that I interact with, like either at work or people that I see like on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis, like physically see people. I try to pay attention because I find it's important that if you notice something in a person, that if you bring it up and they might be willing to talk about it, especially nowadays, like maybe they're in a bad mindset, like they're thinking negative shit, and then people are kind of ignoring it. I always find that you kind of have to be a little, especially for people around you, right? But I also notice it on social media as well. Like if I notice someone that hasn't been on social media that usually is on social media all the time, sometimes I'll be like, "Hey man, everything cool? We haven't heard from you in a while." And sometimes I don't know who I was talking to on a recent episode. I think it might have been Dawson or someone else, but he said the same thing. He's like, "Man, this conversation we're having right now," he's like, "This is like so fun, you know, like it helps a lot, you know." I think it was Adam on the last episode, but he's like, sometimes it's just nice to talk to someone and see from someone else's perspective, or just something else. Like I wanted to have you on because I wanted to talk about distinct breeds, but I knew that it was going to bleed into just having a fucking cool conversation and getting high and having fun. You know? And fuck, man. If you were sitting in my living room right now, the fuck would we be doing? Be smoking weed and talking shit. I'm like, what the fuck?
This is exactly what we'd be doing, and it sucks
and we would be loving it. We'd be like, man, yesterday was fucking fun, man. It was so fun, you know. But we don't do that anymore, you know.
No, we should try to have a couple of the guys on.
Yeah,
at some point, because like Connors is up in Moncton now, so like I don't get to see him. Like he's up there. It's only like 2 hours away, but like have like Connors and get Pat on and get Adam on, get a couple of the guys on, just to like get Wes on, or awesome. Mike, get Mike, everybody. Yeah, just get a bunch of the boys on, even if it's like, I don't know if a couple people come on at a time,
No, you
or
have them
like,
all on at
or
the
just
same
have them
fucking
all at
time.
time and just fuck it. You know what I mean? Just
You know, I think you know what I want to start doing is I want to start doing like live on my Facebook. You could do like live with like
okay.
someone else, but you could do more than one at a time. And just it might be a cool concept to sometimes have like a group live where you can kind of just shoot the shit about wrestling. If you have a bunch of wrestling guys, you tell your stories or whatever the case may be. I find man, just having these conversations, like now I'm like the rest of the day, I'm going to be tomorrow, I'm going to probably edit this to release it on Tuesday. So tomorrow I always do this when I edit, I'll click and then I'll start listening to the conversation. And then I'm like, man, that was a good fucking conversation. I'm like, fuck, man, that was a good. I was texting Dawson. I think I was like, dude, I'm editing the podcast right now. I'm like, man, it was a good conversation. I always enjoy listening back to it, man, because it feels good. Like I'm gonna go right now. I'm gonna go prepare dinner for my family tonight. I'm gonna have a great night with my family, and then man, I had a great conversation with Justin today, man. We talked. It was just fun. I'm gonna talk about my wife about it. We need more of this right now, I feel, because the human interaction as pro wrestlers that we used to get on weekends with not just one but like fucking a dozen people, sometimes more and more, hey man, like we stayed in that environment and thrive in that environment because we like being in that environment. We like being in the locker room after your match or before your match,
100%.
shooting the shit, and then sitting in the car maybe for an hour after, just shooting the shit about something else, or even just standing around before
14 hours.
Right?
14
yeah, exactly.
Hours,
you get to drive back, whatever. Listen, I don't know how the fuck you do it. I remember when there's a few times where we go. You've been into Victory Ring, right? You've wrestled at Victory Ring
once.
Yeah. So like for me, it's about 3 hours from my home, and I remember I love wrestling there. But man, I do not like sleeping over somewhere if it's within 3 or 4 hours. I'd rather get home at 3 a.m. and know that I'm in bed with my wife and I could get up the next day with my kids. Like for me, Sundays are my family day. Unless I'm wrestling, I'm at home and it's my family time. It's like, even when I was wrestling, unless I had a show on the Sunday, it was my family time. And now even more with this pandemic. So, but man, that Saturday night, man, and I see the boys and you get to shoot the shit and you get to go wrestle.
It was just like the whole travel and being in the locker room was just as important as the 15 minutes in the ring. You know what I mean? Because like we get to separate it. We get to go, okay, let's go do our shit and come back. And then it's jaw-jacking and ripping on each other until we go home. Like, you know what I mean? It's just
so much fun, man.
Yeah. I'd like to now imagine 6 or however many people that we can have on this. All of us fucking just ripping on each other again because we haven't been around each other. And like that's all we'd ever do. Like that's the best part about it all. That's the best part about it. And like I've been extremely fortunate because Emily is a referee.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to, like when she first started reffing, I was gone a lot because she wasn't getting booked on a lot of shows. But then when she put in crazy amounts of work around here and had some good opportunities and stepped up and Iron Man a bunch of shows, and everyone's like, holy shit. So then she got noticed by people where I was going. And then luckily she got to go on those shows. Like last year, I think we might have been on like 3 separate shows. So like we didn't travel with each other, but the rest of the year, it's like, I get to, go to sleep with my girl and wake up and we travel with each other. So like, I never had to worry about coming home to an angry girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I was very lucky in those aspects. So like, but I always understand when the guys are like, no, I'm going to go home to like my kids and wife. I'm like, I get that. I would want that too. I'm just fortunate enough that I didn't have to worry about that. So like we got to wrestle and like I said, we traveled 12, 14 hours. So people like when we went to Victory Ring, the guys put us up at, I think it was Nicholas's house. And like it was his mother's house, and it's like it still got like an old school vibe to it.
Yeah.
And like it's just got like this homey feel to it. And it was like one of our last road trips besides the Greektown weekend. So it was like one of our last times that we were outside the Maritimes, and it was like we woke up and we were like breakfast was cooked, and like it was just so homey feeling. And it was like most times you wake up at one of your boys' place and it's like, yeah, okay, let's get on the road and get the fuck out of here.
Right away.
It's like I didn't even want to leave. You know what I mean? Like they had a shower with like a heat lamp in it and shit, and I was just like, oh, this is so cozy.
Fuck,
but that's that shit I miss. But like, if this is how we got to communicate now, this is how we got to communicate now. And I'm still grateful that we can do it. So,
what's next for Distinct Breeds? You have like you said you recorded one episode already, a new episode.
Yeah, so I've got Troy Merrick. I did an episode with him or an interview with him. I'm like I said, I'm using it to be able to learn some techniques as well. So I haven't put it out right away. I'll put it out this week, sometime this week. But as for that, there's a couple other people I want to interview. It's just for trying to be able to find the space, because I still want to be like, you know, I can set up everything and then get them to come in and we don't have to be near each other, because the mics are long enough away that we can be socially distant. So I'm trying to incorporate that into it. But like the first couple of interviews are probably just going to be some boys from the wrestling community. You know what I mean? I want to interview Emily as well.
That's
from
awesome.
from not a boyfriend point of view, but just like an interviewer point of view. And of course, like some stories are going to intertwine and everything like that. But she has so much to tell about her life with wrestling. She grew up in a household, like her father was a ref, and she got to grow up in a household where Edge and Christian lived there for a couple summers before they got signed. Bobby Roode used to live there. Like so many people that, like, I'm not going to try to name drop anymore, but like there's so many people she'll tell stories about, like, oh yeah, this guy lived at my house for a summer. I'm like, what? And she's like, oh yeah, this guy used to pick me up from school. He lived there all year round. He used to pick me up from school and scare like the other kids and stuff. I'm like, that's amazing. Like, how come a lot of people don't know this? So I'm like, oh wait, I can help facilitate this. So she's going to be someone that I'm going to interview. But as of right now, I'm just flying by the seat of my pants, I guess. Just see where it goes. And I'll try not to have too much
expectations, right?
Yeah, I don't want to have too much high expectations. Like the first video came out and it broke 100 views, and I was like, oh, cool. I didn't set a number that I wanted to break, but I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, and there's no down votes, so there's 3 up votes. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know what that means, but that's cool.
It's so Distinct Breeds, you find it on YouTube and Instagram, right? You have an Instagram page?
Yes, sir, at Distinct Breeds, and then same thing for the YouTube as well. It's just Distinct Breeds.
Man, that's awesome. Good job. And I'm looking forward for more shit, honestly. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing how you grow into this project, and I'm really excited about it.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks for making time for me and being on the Savage Show, man. It's not the first time, and it definitely won't be the last time we'll get to talk to each other, right, man?
All right.
Thanks a lot, brother.
All right, brother. Pleasure.
I'll talk to you soon.
Later.